The home coming down December 28th is once again causing an uproar among mainstream media, social media, and the victims' families. But the argument that's being made that that home should stay up until the trial because the jury may want to go through that home is absolutely the wrong leg to stand on. But the actual reason the home should stay up is something nobody's actually talking about. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. And if an open conversation is something you prefer, then this is the place for you. Welcome to The Point, so let's talk about it.
Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
So let's go through some of this article I found, and then we'll be back to discuss. The University of Idaho plans to demolish the house at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho, where 4 undergrad students were fatally passed away last year, denying potential jurors the opportunity to view the crime scene. Scheduled to commence on December 28 during winter break and less than a year after the suspect's arrest, the demolition decision has sparked criticism, according to Fox News. University President Scott Green defended the move. "It is the grim reminder of the heinous act that took place there," he said. "While we appreciate the emotional connection some family members of the victims may have to this house, it's time for its removal and to allow the collective healing of our community to continue." Experts argue that such visits provide a perspective not captured in photographs. Similar trials, such as O.J. Simpson's and Alex Murdaugh's, allowed jurors to visit the crime scene. Criminal justice professor Joseph Giacalone emphasized the importance of allowing the jury to visit the crime scene. "I understand the school wants to move on, but walking the jury through the crime scene when you have it is important to give them a perspective that photos just can't do." Defense attorney Edwin Elcox, who represented Idaho's cult mom, Lori Vallow Daybell, emphasized the importance of in-person visits to crime scene. "Video and pictures can help, but may not accurately depict the scene in the way an in-person visit can do. The house should be preserved until the trial concludes or Kohlberger pleads guilty." Gonzalez's family expressed sorrow over the decision to tear down the building, calling December 28th a very sad day. When the president of the university spoke, did you not get the feeling that that was pretty disingenuous, and he has no real concern or understanding as to why the family members want this home up? Now, if you see any of that differently, you can let me know, but to make the statement that they understand that home has sentimental value or some type of attachment to some of the victims' families, but they need to move on and they want to continue the healing process, is absolutely incorrect. The reason the family wants the home up is because they believe it offers evidentiary value to a potential jury if and when they decide to go into the home. It has nothing really to do with sentimental value. And a lot of us are already under the impression that universities as a whole are just primarily concerned with dollar signs. And their decision originally to tear that home down after they received possession of it came pretty quickly in a lot of our eyes. And it wasn't until some of the victims' family members spoke out about it. I know T-Rev did a petition that went around social media and a lot of us signed it, because at that time, that trial was supposed to start fairly quickly. Well, the speedy trial has been waived. We don't know if and when there will be a trial. It may be next year. It may be 2 years down the road. There's no telling how long it'll be before a trial date is even set, much less had. Now, as the article did point out, there is a benefit to having potential jurors go into a crime scene to view everything as a whole in real time. It may be a situation where a potential juror has the idea that there's no way a perpetrator could have navigated through that home, not being familiar with the layout, and then they realize, well, there is some potential there. Maybe they don't necessarily have to have a familiarity with the home to move from one room to the other. Or it may be the exact opposite, where a jury says anybody could have went through that home at any point in time, whether the lights were on or off, and navigated from one room to the other with ease, and then come to the determination that, well, there's no way. There's trip hazards here, odd turns here, the layout is very odd. This had to be done by somebody who knows the layout of the home. But I view this argument as fairly weak, considering we don't know when the trial will be, or even if a trial will happen. The fact remains that a little over a year ago, the condition of that home is absolutely 100% completely different than the condition it's in now. Furniture's removed, carpeting's removed, flooring's been removed. I have seen reports where portions of the wall are removed. And from a year to 2 years to who knows how long until this trial starts, the whole condition of the home may be completely worse in a few years than it is now. So what real value is that going to bring to the table? The acoustics are going to be off, so they're not going to be able to make a sound decision on if they could or couldn't hear something going on in another room. Remember, the furniture's out, the flooring's out. There's probably quite a large echo in that home as it stands right now. And I understand if you're trying to tell me right now that at one point in time, both the defense and the prosecution said there was no more evidentiary value, and then the FBI shows up, the defense is shown back up, and I get that argument. But to say that it needs to stay up for Lord knows how long is not an argument that's going to fly. The actual argument that needs to be said is there are still requests for discovery sitting out in the air right now. The defense is building its case as we speak. And as these requests come in, there may be a piece of information, a piece of evidence that they see that validates their argument that Brian Kohlberger didn't commit this crime. And the only way to verify it or further validate it is to go back into the home to gather more evidence. So to say the home needs to stay up until a jury can determine if and when they want to go into it is incorrect. But if you approach the university and say, look, the defense isn't finished building their case, we're pretty sure the prosecution isn't done building their case. When both of these parties actually agree and have everything they're requesting in front of them and make a determination at that point there is no more benefit to the home, then you can proceed to remove it. Because we once again don't know when this trial will be. Is it not very clear to y'all that the university wants this thing demolished? I ultimately believe they want it demolished because it is in some way, shape, or form harming their pocketbook to a degree. Now, I can't verify that, and I'm not swearing that's the truth. That's just the impression I get. If you see it differently, let me know. But to make an argument that both the state and the defense are still building a case, and the home needs to stay until all these requests are received and viewed, is a much better argument to have. I understand that having the home as it stands and walking through it could offer a whole lot of insight for a potential juror. But I highly doubt somebody is maintaining that home right now. I don't think anybody is working to keep that home up. And what I'm referring to is repairing leaks, fixing a roof, fixing a window. There's a whole lot that could go on to a home between now and then. And since that's the case, it might be best to tear down the home after the defense has received all these requests for discovery and determined there is absolutely nothing else that this home can provide them. And the prosecution says we've reviewed all the evidence the defense has given us, and there is nothing else that this home can provide us. At that point, get rid of it. There's no longer a speedy trial. It could be a year or two or more before this thing actually starts. And the state of that home could be absolutely 250 degrees different than what it is now. And if you disagree, let me know down in the comments below. But other than that, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you being here. Y'all stay safe, and I'll catch you in the next one.